Hello, and welcome to Parag's timeline of 15 critical events of World War II. We start off in 1929 with the isolationist movement in the United States. During the Great Depression, both the government and the people wanted to not focus on foreign affairs and instead focus their efforts inwards to mend the broken economy. Because of this, the Congress passed the Neutrality Acts, which prevented the United States from entering any future wars. In 1936, Germany remilitarizes the Rhineland. Although both in the Treaty of Versailles and Locarno, Germany had agreed to demilitarize the Rhineland indefinitely, it chooses to remilitarize it in 1936. This action was a show of defiance by Germany to all of the other European nations. The Rhineland is west of Germany, near Belgium, France, and Switzerland. After it remilitarizes the Rhineland, Germany then forms a formal alliance with Italy known as the Rome-Berlin Axis. Less than a month later, Germany and Japan signed the Anti-Comintern Pact, and these two agreements set the stage for the future alliance of the three main Axis powers. After this, Germany signs a pact with Russia, which is the Nazi-Soviet Non-Aggression Pact. In World War I, Germany had fought the war on two fronts. Fearing this, Hitler reached an agreement with the Soviets so that he would not be under pressure on both sides. The pact meant that the two countries would not wage war against one another, and if a third party attacked their country, the country not being attacked would remain neutral. It was also known as the Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact because of the two Secretary of States that signed the pact. Having made a strong foundation with the remilitarization and allying themselves with Rome, Germany invades Poland on September 1st, 1939. 2 days after this, France and Britain declare war on Germany, and the Second World War finally begins officially. With the declaration of the war, the U.S. slowly moves away from isolationism. Although it has a strict isolationist policy in writing, the country starts to take more interest in the war, as seen by the cash and carry policy. It allows countries to purchase non-military goods as long as they are paid in cash and they carry the goods away themselves. Roosevelt signed this in 1940, and he also created the National Defense Research Committee and other such organizations. These events show that the United States was slowly moving towards internationalism, the movement that Roosevelt advocated. In 1941, Roosevelt signs the Lend-Lease Act. Roosevelt considers the survival of Britain to be vital for America's safety. Furthermore, at this time, the British were running out of money. This led to the formation of the Lend-Lease Act, which allowed the President to lend the Allies. These supplies included war items such as jeeps, guns, ammunition, etc. After this, the Atlantic Charter occurs. On August 9, 1941, Roosevelt and Churchill secretly met to discuss the post-World War II world. Together, they wrote the Atlantic Charter, which eventually becomes the foundation of many of the agreements that follow the war. There were 8 points to the charter, including no territorial gains were to be sought by the United States or the United Kingdom. On December 7, 1941, Japanese bombers launched a surprise attack on the Pearl Harbor base in Hawaii. More than 2,400 Americans are killed, along with the loss of 8 battleships, 3 cruisers, 3 destroyers, and almost 200 planes. Roosevelt declares it a day that will forever be remembered in infamy. The day after, Congress declares war against Japan, thus marking America's official entry into World War II. Soon after the attack on Pearl Harbor, Roosevelt signs the Executive Order 9066. This order gives the Secretary of War the power to limit or even prohibit some people from living in certain areas. Because of this, the Japanese are forced to relocate to internment camps for the rest of the war, because the Secretary of War viewed them as a threat of espionage and sabotage. Many argue that this internment was all too similar to Hitler's death camps. On June 6, 1944, American troops stormed the beaches of Normandy, and after a long battle, the Allies win France and defeat Germany. This was the largest amphibious assault of all time. The invasion was successful and led to the defeat of the German troops occupying France. Soon after, on February 4, 1945, Roosevelt, Churchill, and Stalin met near Yalta when Allied victory seemed near. The leaders discussed a post-war world, and the negotiations that occurred in the conference led to the basis for the United Nations. Months after the Yalta Conference, after the Battle of the Bulge, the Allied forces pushed back the Germans back across the Rhine River. On April 30th, Hitler commits suicide, and days later, Germany surrenders. May 8th becomes known as VE Day, Victory in Europe Day. Afterwards, as Allied troops continued into Germany, they discovered the horrors of the concentration camps. Celebrations were seen on many streets in public. Although the battles had ended in Europe, they continued in the Pacific. On August 6, 1945, an American plane dropped an atomic bomb on Hiroshima. 3 days later, another one was dropped on Nagasaki. American leaders had decided that this act was necessary to end the war quickly with the least death. Over 160,000 people died in the two blasts, and thousands more died from radiation poisoning. Soon after, Japan agrees to surrender. The official surrender isn't signed until September 2nd, 1945, and with this, World War is officially over.